Hello. So this is the next step, really to share with you the Passport to Creativity system. I mentioned before that I wrote a book and I'm rewriting it. So it's the Passport to Creativity, and I'll rewrite this one as well. So there'll be two different books. But the main thing is the 5 steps. And the first step for understanding and unleashing your creativity is really about understanding. Step 1 is understand why it's important to be creative, why it's worth being creative. And I'll probably have to take a few videos to do this, but hopefully you have your own reasons. That's why you're interested in the name of this site or this business in the first place. But there's lots of reasons, and I will give you several of mine very shortly. So why is it important to know why you want to be creative? Well, bottom line is everybody's creative. I wrote this book, the title here, The Truth About Creativity That Your Left Brain Doesn't Want You to Know. I mean, the answer is everyone's creative. You know, it's not that big a secret. Hopefully the title implies that inherently, but yeah, it's really about why do you want to be creative and having motivation to do things differently than you normally do them. So understanding the idea of creativity is really about being creative. It's a process. It's a state of being. It's not something some people are and some people aren't. There's tons of times I'm not creative, and there's tons of times where the creativity is flowing. It's more about accessing it. Hence the name Passport to Creativity. Accessing your right brain is how I think of it. That's a pop science version of what's going on in our brains, but it's clear enough. I think it makes sense. So I'll stick with it. So there are several reasons why it's worth being creative. It feels like duh, but at the same time, if it gets your juices flowing, if it motivates you, then hell, I want to share. So the biggest reason for me is that it's when you get into the flow of creativity, and there's a kind of this term flow, and I'll talk more about that. But when you get into this flow, your brain is processing in a way that is so focused that you're unaware of kind of your negative thinking. You're kind of in this space where time kind of seems to disappear, and you really feel connected to your spirit or your soul or whatever you want to think, however you want to think about it. You really can have this sensation of being in the moment, and it is an upwelling of ecstasy and joy. It's like a feeling of expansion. A second reason for why it's worth being creative is because you get to create things. I mean, that's where the whole duh comes in. But this painting behind me is one of my favorite paintings. It's inspired by Bora Bora photos. It's a different, the ecstasy of doing it and during the moments when you feel flow is amazing and incredible. But there's also this incredible sense of pride and ownership and feeling of being able to make something that didn't exist before. And some of that's ego gratification, there's no question about it, but it's really, really, really fun, and it's really cool, and it's really worth doing. So I hope that motivates anyone who's on the fence. A third reason why it's just so worth being creative is it's personal. If you think about a lot of people, perhaps yourself included, where you design your house a way that feels personal to you, or you buy, bags or clothes that fit your style, your personality. You try and seek out the right phone case, for example. These things represent and kind of, you kind of identify with and enjoy. They're more personal to you. Well, creativity is the ultimate personalization. Just some examples here. This is my phone case, which is one of my paintings. So, it doesn't get more personal than your own creation. A couple other examples here. I actually took some of my paintings and had them made into pens. So they're really extra personal. Its pens are a little extreme, but it's fun to see my paintings even at work when I'm doing other things. Before I go to another reason, I wanted to kind of reiterate that idea of being creative, put you in that moment and that flow. Most of my examples are paintings. They're physical, they're tangible. I can show you them. But obviously, dance, acting, music, creativity spans every kind of way of expression. And, so please make sure, understand, I'm talking about creativity. I mean, when you play music that touches you, it doesn't get much better than that. So just want to make sure it's clear. I'm not a professional musician, so I'm not going to play anything, but it's so enjoyable regardless of my skill level. Okay, next reason why it's so worth being creative is the deep connection you have with your creations. If you think about some people, they fall in love with their car, or sports fans love their TV, and other people love certain pieces of jewelry that mean something. There's a connection to them, even though they didn't create them themselves. There's a connection to them for many reasons. But think about that when you create your own creations. You make your own creations. That connection is even deeper. So it's people refer to it as like my baby. Obviously, it's no children. This is no comparison to that. But the idea of feeling ownership and feeling like you created something that came out of you creates a very deep and meaningful connection that is absolutely worth it. So lots of reasons. I hope you're still with me, because one of the best reasons for being creative is growth. Just the opportunity to continually get better, to learn new things, and to evolve yourself. And the more creative you get, it's not something that you run out of. It's something that continues to expand. I started out as a copywriter in advertising, and loved coming up with ideas for creating commercials or print ads and internet stuff. But now I paint and I play music. I've dabbled with other things as well, and it all is so valuable to my growth and just living life. It's hard to explain, but hopefully it makes sense. And the next reason why being creative is so worthwhile is it's like a vacation from your everyday. Unless you're doing it as a profession, and even when you do it as a profession, you can still find ways to kind of create that space that takes you away from all your bills and your mundane, your routines, the things you have to do. Creativity lets you kind of explore states of mind and states of being, and that puts you into places that are much more. They're not the same as every day. They sometimes they feel like you're really living. Not that you're not living when you're in routines, but there's quite a difference between those states. The reasons they just don't stop. The next reason for why it's worth being creative is because you get to express yourself. I mentioned the idea of making things personal, but I like to think of creativity as communication, as a way of expressing yourself. It just turns out that words don't always express everything you want to, and even when you get every single word in the dictionary, most people don't understand every word in the dictionary, and even then, it's just inadequate. We're talking about a different state of being. We're talking about emotion. We're talking about feeling. We're talking about wanting to express yourself in ways like color or in sound or in rhythm or in texture. There's so many ways to communicate that go beyond words, and the opportunity to express yourself through movement, through character, it just spans, and it's so valuable to have the entire palette of expression available to us when we create. So this next reason, I'm going to be transparent. I've been trying to work on sharing my ideas, teaching people how to be creative, and part of that is creating a business. And so I've gone to workshops and things. And one of the things they say is when you want to get people to buy into your ideas is create the pain. I don't want to do that, but I acknowledge the idea that people move more when they're in pain. So that's why people do that with sales techniques. So I'm just going to say there's reasons why not being creative is also not very fun. I don't want to go into the details, but I mentioned the idea of life can be routine. I'll let you use your own imagination why not being creative is not fun, but there's plenty of those as well. I just don't want to dwell on that. So sorry to bring you down on this one. Okay, last reason, wanted to end on a good note, is the reason why it's so worth being creative is because you can apply creativity to anything you do. You can cook, have fun with cooking. You can have fun with your accounting. No, don't mess with the numbers now. But you can explore ideas and opportunities that you might not have seen before by applying your creativity. It can help in your job. It can help in your business. It can help with how to raise your kids. You can just come up with new ideas, and life's just not done. We just have so many opportunities to do things in ways that have never been done, and those opportunities are still before us. And applying our creativity gives us that opportunity. So worth being creative. I hope I gave you enough reasons. There's more, but this is getting old. So why? Good reason. Bye.